Welcome back, Honors. All right, so we're doing a ton of stuff on my whiteboard and on my map and places like that today. So something we need to get into, though, is where we left off in class, right? We left off in class talking about the Great Schism. Oh, it's one of my favorite words to say. There's actually a senior sitting in here right now, and I guarantee she remembers the word schism and how much I would freak out about it. Yeah, schism. Now, the big schism, though, was between the eastern and western parts of the Byzantine Empire, because they began to accuse each other of these two words that we talked about on the board earlier, which I know some of y'all can't really see, but this one is idolatry, and then this one was iconography, right? Because the reason why I'm saying they're accusing each other of these things is because they're actually vastly different concepts, right? So idolatry, which the Easterners were accusing the Western church, Western Christians of, is about worshiping false idols, right? Worshiping false figures, right? So here's the thing, though, is that Catholics actually don't believe in idolatry. They believe in iconography, the reproduction of holy figures, right? Which is very, 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 very vastly different concepts. And so what this is actually going to end up leading to, besides some iconoclasms and things like that, it's going to end up leading to what is known as the Great Schism, right? And what you're going to get out of that is your Eastern Orthodox Christian church and then your Roman Catholic, right? The Westerners actually moved their base over to old Rome, and they started the Roman Catholic Church, and then your Easterners actually turned into your Eastern Orthodox Church, which actually, funnily enough, is a very, very vastly different system, even though the infrastructures are a little bit more similar. Like, for example, this right here is the patriarch of the Eastern Orthodox Church. He's actually not even referred to as like their pope. He's called the first amongst equals, which is actually a really cool concept. Now, just to give you a heads up, though, the Crusades are going to start in 1090. Really, really fast before you write that down. Right about here, okay, above it. Right, ever since Justinian, the Byzantine was shrinking. It was being invaded by the Huns, the Turks, the Persians, right? The biggest one out of all of them, though, was the Turks, right? So around 1090 AD, the Crusades are going to get kicked up due to the fact that these Muslim Turks are actually invading areas that we would consider our Holy Land to this day, right? Jerusalem, Nazareth, Damascus, those areas right there. Now, which is going to lead to the Byzantine calling for help, okay? Constantinople, though, would actually 400 years later be conquered. Okay, sorry about that. But the Crusades are going to actually leave the Byzantine small and weak. And so they kind of hobble along for another 400 years, and Constantinople is going to be conquered by the Ottoman Turks in 1453 AD. Many famous Christian sites are still there. Churches are still remain there. Many people still make pilgrimage to what is formerly Constantinople, but is now actually called Istanbul, right? So originally Byzantium, then it's Constantinople, now it's Istanbul, right? Now, the biggest things that the Byzantine did, though, is held on to the economy of the old world and held on to the intelligence of the old world, all right? So just keep that in mind. But speaking of the old world, we need to get this thing a lot bigger, and we need to go ahead and we need to run over to, whoa, God, that's really big. It's like when the front-facing camera actually just like hits you out of nowhere and you don't see it coming. All right, so that happens all the time. So anyway, here we go. So hi. Should I let her in? I don't know if I should let her in. Should I let her in?
Don't let her in.
All right, so I'm flipping though, so just make sure you don't distract me too much. Now, anyway, so we're getting into now talking about this really, really, really big thing going on during this time period that everybody always refers to the Middle Ages by something that is universally a little bit more assumed, slightly false. Oh God, that's not angled right. Hi, what'd you do?
Nothing. I'm watching a flip in the making.
Oh, a flip. Yeah, you're watching the progress. So, biggest thing is, everybody always refers to the Middle Ages as these, right? The Dark Ages. Well, here's the thing. Why is this kind of a assumed false truth? Good job, random kid that all of a sudden I can't remember a name to say, even though, ironically enough, this is like a door. Good job, Chidenma. Very nice. Yeah, very nice. Chitty got it, all right? The Dark Ages are actually assumed, and it's a very, very, very Eurocentric theme. What I mean by Eurocentric theme is it's basically just saying that Europe is the center of all like history, which is actually not true at all, right? Calling it the Dark Ages is basically trying to say that all of the world was going through a very, very rough period, which actually isn't true at all, right? Because guess who was having a great time during this entire period? That's right, the Easterners, right? There was actually an Eastern Golden Age happening, which ironically enough, if you ask some historians, they're like, Golden Age doesn't even make any sense. That's a really, really stupid word. Well, it's still very important to understand that from about 600 AD, which to give you a heads up, that's when Muhammad actually exited the desert to establish the Islamic faith, to about 1453 AD, give or take, when they actually took over Constantinople, was a period of time known as like the Eastern Golden Age, right? Particularly also known as the Islamic Golden Age, but we won't get into that quite yet, okay? Now, a lot of this, though, has to do with one simple fact, was just tons and tons and tons and tons and tons and tons of money are being made by these people, right? And a lot of it, you like just really, really enthused by this, Janema?
I am.
Yeah?
Wait, were you inspired by like John Green? Or like no?
Why?
Because he does
Oh, Crash Course? Yeah, Crash Course is dope, but I've been doing these before I discover those. He does like Crash Course videos. Flips are, the word flip is because like they do a lot of learning at home and it's a flipped over classroom where most of your teachers lecture in class. Sorry guys. Where most of your teachers lecture in class, I do it while they're at home and then we review heavy in class. That's why I throw the football all the time. Yeah, so the Eastern Golden Age, very important. Sorry I was distracted. But a lot of it has to do with this. Let's run over to my map really quick. A lot of it actually is due to one central economic theme, actually focused around one body of water, right? So this body of water right there is actually very, very important because it's going to be turned into what's known as, by Mr. Hoover, which is the only thing I give him credit for actually being smart about. Mr. Hoover calls it the monsoon marketplace, all right? So now, hence the name marketplace, which means they're establishing a lot of money there. And what the monsoon marketplace is the Indian Ocean, right? It's the Indian Ocean. So from about 600 to 1453 AD, the Easterners are making tons of money in this one body of water, right? Your major Eastern communities include the Asiatic communities of India, Southeast China, also these Polynesia's over here, but also these Malaysian islands as well, the east coast of Africa, but Africa in generality, and then also your Arabic communities right there. So you got three big communities all starting with A. Now the really, really big thing to understand though is really fast, ladies. What's a monsoon? No, it's not the rain. Shadim, it's the wind. Yes, the winds, right? Monsoons are actually not rains. Monsoons cause rain, right? Monsoon is actually seasonal winds that carry everything in one direction, and then the opposite seasons, they carry everything back the opposite direction. So from, I think it's about April to August, they go this direction, and from the rest of the year, they actually go back out. So what this provided was a gigantic super highway for the transmission of goods. And if you're transmitting goods, what happens when culture spread, Mala?
Cultural diffusion.
That's right, cultural diffusion, which makes everybody smarter, which makes everybody more money, which spreads products and items, and actually increases the viability of other areas. So this Dark Ages term in the Middle Ages, very Eurocentric. So let's talk really, really quickly, before my time runs out, about these three big communities and what they're providing to the world at the time, right? So we again have all three starting with A. Which one do we want to start with first? We want to go Africa, the Arabs, or the Asians first?
Asians.
Wow. Racist. anyway, now, because Mala's Cambodian, all right? Calm down. All right, so anyway, now. So, Cambodian pride, what's up? Anyway, now, the Asian community, what do you think they're providing? Anybody?
Silk.
Very close. Luxury items is a big one, right? Luxury items including porcelain, silk, textiles, tea, things like that. The other big one, though, is stuff that makes medicine, makes perfume, makes your food taste better, makes you all kinds of fun stuff. What's that? Spices. Spices are major. Also, they're offering up things like different types of intellectual, but I'm going to save that, actually. I'm going to hold on to that one. But spices are the big things that they're providing. Then what are we going to do? Africans or Arabs next? African. Chidinma's family's from Lagos. Yeah, Lagos. Not Lagos, apparently. So, anyway, the African community, their biggest contributions to everything was just straight up liquid cash in the form of what? Gold. Yeah, like massive amounts of gold. And then also one mineral that the entire world needed. You know what that was? It's worth its weight in gold in Africa. I hear y'all. Calm down. I hear you. No, anyway, go ahead. You know what? Salt. Yeah, salt. Actually, fun fact about it, the richest man that history has ever seen, who is worth 50 times the amount of Elon Musk, Bill Gates, and all these other guys combined, is an African man because he cornered the market in salt and gold during the actual 1300s, 1200s era AD. Now, his name was Mansa Musa. You ever heard of Mansa Musa before? Probably. Nice. So, Mansa Musa. All right, so he's a very, very good representation of the large economic gains of the Africans during this period. He actually was even on medieval maps as, the man in Africa. He was, sitting on the map like this, and he had, a gold nugget in his hand. He was, he actually, had so much money, he caused inflation in places he traveled. He would go to Egypt. He actually had this giant caravan where he went to Egypt to try and make a pilgrimage to, he had actually going on the Hajj for the Islamic community. He was going to Mecca, and he spent bunches of money and caused inflation everywhere he went. Now, then the last one we have is the Arabs, right? And the Arabs actually provided two huge things. Intelligence, right? They actually had a gigantic push forward of intelligence, math, geometry, algebra. The invention of this number, the number zero didn't even exist before the Arabs came up with it during this period. And this is actually really important because if you have zeros, that means you can go into the negatives, which you now have loans, debt, credit, stuff like that, which is very good to them. And one last thing they had was actually shipping, right? They were the international shippers. They were the ones that carried a lot of goods back and forth. So a lot of it was responsible for all that cultural diffusion stuff, which is actually massively important. Now, remember, Dark Ages is very Eurocentric. All this stuff happened. We talked about our map, the monsoon marketplace, good stuff right there. But yeah, that's it. And we're going to get into the early Middle Ages tomorrow in class. I hope you all have a great evening. I'll see you guys tomorrow.